You stare at your midsection in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself. You've cut the sugar, you've walked the miles, you've skipped the bread, and it's still growing. But the thing that's actually expanding your waistline isn't what you ate last night. It's what you've been carrying inside for the last 10 years. There's a quiet conversation happening inside your body right now. One you can't hear. One nobody warned you about. It started long before your waistline changed. Long before the pants stopped fitting. Long before you stood in front of a mirror pulling at your shirt, wondering what you did wrong. It started most likely during a period of your life you wouldn't even describe as stressful, because that's how chronic stress works. It doesn't announce itself. It moves in slowly, like fog. And that's the part that hurts most, isn't it? The wondering. The self-interrogation at 2 a.m. The relentless voice whispering that you must have done something. Eaten too much, moved too little, given up at some invisible finish line you were supposed to cross. That voice is convincing, authoritative even. It sounds like truth. It borrows the language of every doctor who ever glanced at your chart and said, "Try eating less." Every magazine cover. Every wellness influencer with a flat stomach and a smoothie recipe. But I need you to hear what I'm about to say very carefully. That voice is lying to you. And worse, it's making the problem bigger every single day it speaks. I remember the exact moment this became undeniably clear to me. I was sitting across from a woman, Colleen, 53, a landscape architect who designed public parks for a living. She walked 6 miles a day through her own projects. 6. Not on a treadmill. Through rolling terrain, up hills, across unfinished gravel paths. She brought me a food journal that went back 11 months. Meticulous, color-coded. Every calorie tracked. Every meal weighed on a kitchen scale she'd bought specifically for this purpose. She'd done everything right by every standard we're taught to follow. And she was gaining weight, specifically around her abdomen. 1 to 2 pounds a month, like clockwork, for almost a year. No explanation that made sense. No indulgence to confess. No cheat day to blame. Her blood work? Normal ranges across the board. Thyroid? Fine. Fasting glucose? Fine. Her previous provider had told her she was just getting older and suggested she try intermittent fasting. She had, for 4 months. The belly fat didn't budge. She sat in that chair, and the first thing she said wasn't about food. It wasn't about exercise. She pressed her hands flat against her stomach and said, "I feel like I'm failing at my own body." That sentence carved itself into my memory. Not because it was dramatic, because I'd heard versions of it hundreds of times. Hundreds. Different women, different cities, different decades. Same posture, same pressed hands, same sentence. Same shame. And the same quiet devastation behind the eyes that says, "I did everything right, and it wasn't enough." And that shame, it's not just emotional. That's what no one tells you. That shame is biochemical. It has weight. It has consequences. It has a direct, measurable effect on where your body stores fat. And I mean that literally. Let me unravel this, because the truth is stranger than what most people assume. When you experience stress, real stress, not the kind you recover from after a good night's sleep, but the kind that hums in the background of your life for months, years, sometimes decades, your adrenal glands produce cortisol. Everyone knows that part. What almost nobody understands is what chronic cortisol does differently than acute cortisol. See, acute stress is a lion chasing you. Your body floods with cortisol, your pupils dilate, your heart hammers, blood diverts to your legs. You run, the lion leaves, the cortisol drops. Done. The whole event might last 8 minutes. Your body resets within the hour. No lasting damage. In fact, acute stress can be healthy. It sharpens you, keeps you alive. Chronic stress? Completely different animal. There is no lion. There is no running. There is no reset. There is no 8-minute window. There's just a hum. A low, constant vibration in your nervous system that never quite turns off. Chronic stress is the unpaid bill on the counter. It's the marriage that went silent. It's the aging parent you can't fix. It's the job that's quietly grinding you down. It's the teenage son who won't talk to you. It's waking up already tired. It's lying awake at 2 a.m. with your jaw clenched, planning tomorrow's survival. It's the feeling, and this is the part that matters, that no matter what you do, it's never enough. That feeling doesn't just live in your head. It lives in your fascia, in your gut lining, in the receptor sites on your fat cells. Specifically, and this has been documented extensively, chronic cortisol changes how your visceral fat cells behave. The fat cells around your abdomen have 4 times more cortisol receptors than fat cells in your arms or legs. 4 times. So when your body is swimming in cortisol day after day, month after month, guess where the storage signal goes first? Right to your middle. And here's where it gets cruel. Because then you look down and see the belly fat. And what do you feel? Shame. And what does shame do? It triggers, wait for it, more cortisol, which tells your body to store more visceral fat, which gives you more reason to feel ashamed, which floods you with more cortisol. It's a loop, a biochemical trap disguised as a personal failure. This isn't theory. This has been studied at length. Research published in Psychosomatic Medicine found that women who reported higher levels of self-blame around body changes had measurably higher cortisol output, not just in moments of acute distress, but as a baseline. Their resting cortisol was elevated. Their bodies were behaving as though they were under threat all the time. Because in a way, they were. The threat was themselves. The judge, the jury, the prison. All internal. I need to pause here because this is something that took me years to truly understand. Early in my career, when a woman came in with unexplained abdominal weight gain during perimenopause or menopause, I looked at the obvious things: thyroid, insulin resistance, estrogen decline. Those matter, genuinely they do, but I kept finding women where all those markers were managed, treated, addressed, and the belly fat persisted. Something was missing from the equation. And that something wasn't a hormone you could measure on a standard panel. It was the weight of what they were carrying emotionally, the years of pushing through, the decades of absorbing everyone else's stress while minimizing their own, the guilt of not being enough, not thin enough, not energetic enough, not happy enough, not young enough. Let me be very direct. Menopause does change your hormonal landscape. Estrogen drops, progesterone drops, your metabolism recalibrates. That's real. But menopause alone does not explain the specific, stubborn, diet-resistant belly fat that so many women experience. It's the combination, the collision, of hormonal shift and years of accumulated chronic stress that creates this particular pattern. Think of it this way. Menopause opens a door. Chronic stress walks through it and moves in. Colleen, the landscape architect, when I asked her about her stress, she almost laughed. What stress? I love my job. I have a good life. And she wasn't lying. She did love her job. She did have a good life. But when we started mapping her actual stress load, not the dramatic kind, not trauma, just the relentless, low-grade kind, the picture changed. Her mother had been diagnosed with early-stage dementia 3 years prior. Colleen had been managing her care remotely, calling every day, coordinating with caregivers, handling the finances. Never complaining, never asking for help. It's just what you do, she said. Her husband had retired 2 years ago. She loved him, but suddenly he was home all day, and the rhythm of her life, the quiet mornings, the independence, the silence she recharged in, was gone. She hadn't said anything because she felt guilty for even wanting space. She hadn't slept more than 5 hours straight in over a year. None of this felt like stress to her. That's the trap of chronic stress. It normalizes itself. It doesn't feel like a crisis. It feels like Tuesday. But her body was keeping score. Every sleepless night, every swallowed frustration, every moment she prioritized everyone else's needs over her own nervous system, her body logged it. And the ledger showed up around her waist. Now, here's what angers me, and I don't use that word lightly. The system that's supposed to help women through this transition, it almost never asks about any of this. The standard approach to menopause belly fat is eat less, move more, maybe take hormone therapy. And those things can help, but they're treating the symptom while completely ignoring the engine that's driving it. It's like mopping the floor while the faucet's still running. No one asks, when did you last feel truly rested? No one asks, who takes care of you while you're taking care of everyone else? No one asks, are you angry, and have you given yourself permission to be? Those aren't soft questions. Those are clinical questions. Because the answers directly affect cortisol output, inflammatory markers, insulin sensitivity, and, yes, where your body chooses to deposit fat. And it's precisely because I've seen this pattern repeat itself so many times, this invisible connection between what a woman carries emotionally and what her body does physically, that I went looking for something more comprehensive. Something that addresses the whole picture, not just fragments. I found something that's been genuinely helping women understand and work with this cycle instead of fighting against themselves. If that resonates with you, I left it in the first link in the description and in the pinned comment. It might change the way you see what's happening to your body. Let me go deeper into the science for a moment, because this part is important. And frankly, it's the part that should make you furious, because it's not complicated. It's been documented for decades. And yet almost no one connects these dots for women going through menopause. When cortisol stays elevated chronically, it doesn't just tell your body to store fat. It actively breaks down muscle tissue, your own muscle. Cortisol is catabolic. It disassembles proteins from your lean mass to convert them into glucose, because your brain thinks you're in danger and needs quick fuel. Muscle is metabolically expensive. Your body burns calories just to maintain it. So when chronic stress starts cannibalizing your lean muscle mass, week after week, month after month, your basal metabolic rate drops. Quietly, invisibly. You're literally burning fewer calories at rest than you were 5 years ago. Not because of age, not because of menopause alone, but because chronic cortisol has been slowly dismantling your metabolic machinery from the inside. And nobody told you. Simultaneously, chronic cortisol increases insulin resistance. Your cells stop responding efficiently to insulin, so your blood sugar stays elevated longer after every meal, which triggers more insulin release, which sends a direct storage signal to your adipose tissue. Specifically, your visceral adipose tissue, abdominal fat. The exact fat you've been staring at in the mirror and blaming yourself for. The fat that made you skip dinner 3 times last week because you thought eating less would fix it. It won't. Not while the cortisol is still running the show. And on top of all that, as if the deck weren't already sufficiently stacked, chronic stress disrupts your sleep architecture. Not just how long you sleep, how deeply. Specifically, it suppresses slow-wave sleep, the deepest phase, the phase where growth hormone is released, where cellular repair happens, where your body is supposed to be rebuilding what the day broke down. Without adequate slow-wave sleep, recovery collapses. Systemic inflammation rises. Your gut permeability increases. And cortisol levels the next morning? Even higher than the day before. You see the compounding now? Stress damages sleep. Poor sleep raises cortisol. Higher cortisol increases belly fat. Belly fat triggers shame. Shame amplifies stress. Amplified stress destroys sleep further. And the wheel keeps turning, grinding, accelerating, while you stand on it, wondering why you can't lose weight by eating salads. This is not a willpower problem. I'll say it again. This is not a willpower problem. This is a biological cascade that was set in motion, in many cases, years before the belly fat ever appeared. The fat is the last chapter of a story that started with a woman who never learned she was allowed to rest. And that brings me to the part that I think matters most, the way out. Because there is a way out, but it doesn't start where most people think. And honestly, the starting point is going to sound almost too simple. You might resist it. Most women do it first. It doesn't start with a new diet. It doesn't start with a gym membership. It doesn't start with a supplement or a protocol or a detox. Those things have their place. Some of them genuinely help, and I'm not dismissing any of it. But they're not the starting line. They can't be. Because if the cortisol signal is still blaring, your body will override every good intention you throw at it. The starting line is this. You have to stop blaming yourself. I know how that sounds. Believe me, I can practically hear the skepticism. That's it? That's your medical advice? Be nicer to myself? But listen, I don't mean this as a platitude. I don't mean it as a feel-good affirmation you stick on your bathroom mirror next to the toothpaste. I mean it physiologically, clinically. Because every moment you spend in self-blame, every time you pinch your stomach in disgust, every time you whisper, "What's wrong with me?" your brain registers that as threat. And threat means cortisol. And cortisol means your body keeps doing exactly what it's been doing. You cannot shame your way out of a cortisol problem. You just can't. Self-compassion isn't weakness. It's not soft. It's a metabolic intervention. There was a study out of the University of Waterloo, a fascinating one, that found women who practiced structured self-compassion exercises showed a measurable decrease in cortisol within 8 weeks. Not a dramatic lifestyle overhaul, not a new medication, just the act of changing how they spoke to themselves about their own bodies. 8 weeks, measurable change. That's not poetry, that's endocrinology. Colleen? 4 months after we shifted her focus, after we stopped treating her belly fat as a dietary failure and started treating her chronic stress as the clinical reality it was, something shifted. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily. Her sleep improved first, then her digestion, then her mood. The weight didn't melt off like some miracle story, but it stopped climbing. And then, slowly, it started to reverse. She told me something during one of our later conversations that I'll never forget. She said, "I spent 2 years punishing my body for something it was trying to protect me from." She was right. Your body isn't betraying you. It's responding to a signal that says the world isn't safe, that you're not safe, that you have to keep preparing for a threat that never fully arrives. And the most important thing you can do before any diet, before any exercise plan, before any protocol, is to change that signal. Tell your nervous system the war is over. Let yourself be angry about the years no one explained this to you. Let yourself grieve the energy you spent blaming yourself. And then, gently, firmly, let it go. Because this is exactly the kind of knowledge that changes everything once you truly absorb it. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to understand the full picture of how your body and your stress have been tangled together and what to actually do about it, I've put something together that walks through it step by step. It's there in the pinned comment and in the first link in the description. Take a look when you're ready. No rush. It'll be there. I started this conversation with a woman staring at her reflection, not recognizing herself, pulling at her shirt, wondering what she did wrong. Now I want you to picture that same woman, maybe it's you, standing in front of that same mirror. But this time, she's not pulling at her shirt. She's not counting calories in her head. She's not rehearsing tomorrow's restrictions. She's just breathing, standing, quiet, because she finally understands. It was never about discipline. It was never about willpower. It was about a body doing exactly what it was designed to do under decades of unrelenting pressure. and a woman who was never told she was allowed to stop. You're allowed to stop. If this reached something inside you today, subscribe to this channel. There's more coming. Conversations that go where most people are afraid to look. Your body has been trying to talk to you. Maybe it's time to listen.